Hello and welcome to Psalm Blog. Why does God hide in times of trouble? Psalm 10. Every week in the UK, 3 women die as a result of domestic violence. That's in a relationship which is meant to, above all, express love. And yet there's so much hatred, someone is murdered. Why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourself in times of trouble? Every 10 seconds, a child dies from hunger. Over a year, that adds up to over 3 million children in our world. Why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourselves in times of trouble? 1 million Uyghur people are detained in internment camps in China, where they're being forcibly re-educated. Crime simply being different. Why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourselves in times of trouble? Over 9 million lives have been lost to abortion in the UK since 1967. Why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourselves in times of trouble? If you're poor and living in an urban area, you're twice as likely to die of COVID-19 than someone in the least deprived parts of the country. Does our healthcare system discriminate? Why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourself in times of trouble? That prayer, why, Lord, do you stand far off and hide yourself in times of trouble, forms the opening words of Psalm 10. It's a desperate cry of a man who feels abandoned by God, while evil and injustice flourish. The psalm begins with a question, but ends with confident statements of faith that God does answer and God is active. So it says, God will arise and help the helpless, and so we don't despair. God does see trouble and grief, and so we don't despair. He does consider our cries and take them in hand, and so we don't despair. He is the helper of the fatherless, and so we don't despair. The King is the King forever, and so we don't despair. He hears the cry of the afflicted and encourages them, and so we don't despair. And so when we do despair and we think God has disappeared in times of trouble, here is a psalm we can turn to, pray through, and be encouraged. Thank God for this psalm. Amen.